Hello, guys, and welcome to today's hurricane off-season outlook and discussion for the Atlantic for the day of March 29th, 2020. And it's been about 4 or 5 days since I did my last update, so I thought I would let it simmer just a little bit longer than I normally do. And we will see how these, sea surface temperatures and their anomalies and the departures from normal that we have. Plus, we're going to take a look at the CFS models as well, like we always do. Now, here come April 1st, these models are going to change a little bit. So once we hit April 1st, I'll be able to talk about the new CANSIPs as well for the month of April. We're getting to the 45-day mark until the tropical weather outlooks start on May 15th. So we're starting to get down to the wire here, and any and all model trends are going to start mattering from here on out as we head closer to the Atlantic hurricane season. So right now we're going to be taking a look at the Nino 3.4 region, and obviously we're not going to be talking about all this since we already talked about it way beforehand. But here in March 1st, we got near negative 1.1 here. We didn't quite make it there, but we got pretty close. We got to the moderate La Nina stage, and then ever since like March 20th maybe, we've been on an upward trend here. As you see, we had a steep incline of these sea surface temperatures because I believe that we had some westerly wind bursts that came through here and started warming up the waters a little bit. But I do foresee this, changing here shortly to more of the easterlies. Or yeah, I do expect these waters to cool down a little bit as we head out through, the next couple of weeks and stuff. I don't see it going up too much farther, maybe a little bit farther, maybe towards the neutral phase, but I think it might hover around the La Nina mark over the last couple months into the hurricane season, and I might have those westerly and easterly wind bursts mixed up. I'm having a blah day today, so you're gonna have to forgive me for some mistakes that I might make. But yeah, there's that. All right, so now we're going to take a look. We're going to look here. We're going to switch these up a little bit. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the coral reef watch sea surface temperature. These are the actual temperatures here of these waters. And you can see here that these 26s and 27s are starting to creep their way into the Gulf of Mexico, as you can see here. And then we got these 26.5s to 27s creeping around the Florida side of things, entering the Gulf Stream. You can see here that 27s are pretty prominent here in the northwestern part of the Caribbean, and 26s in the eastern Caribbean. But you can see here some of these lower parts of the Caribbean are actually cooler. We're talking 24s, 25s, stuff like that. So if we get obviously it's going on to April here. So if we ever get a tropical cyclone at this point of the year tracking through this would not be a good look for those tropical cyclones, because we need, warm waters to keep those, fueled up. Obviously here in the western, MDR regions, we got 26s and 27s here. So this is plenty good enough. The only problem I'm seeing right now is these water temperatures are taking their time. As we're rolling into April here soon in the next 2 or 3 days, you would expect these to be up near 18 north, in my opinion, but we're not seeing that right now. We're seeing a gradual, slow, increase in these water temperatures as we head out through the hurricane towards the hurricane season. But now that the sun is going to be out a little bit later, and the sun angle is going to be to the advantage of these sea surface temperatures, we're probably going to see these water temperatures start to really warm up over the next couple of months. So by the time we hit hurricane season, these waters should be definitely warm enough for any tropical cyclone development. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the whole picture here of the Atlantic, and you can see here where the 26s and 27s are. So we're about, we're 26s here at about the 10 north line for some parts. But as you can see, it's really warm here near the equatorial region around 6.3 north and going towards one north here, we got 30 degrees Celsius waters, like 29, 30 degrees Celsius waters. Now, if you got these, these warm sea surface temperatures near the equator, we call that the Atlantic El Nino, which pretty much will suppress the Etsy to the south. If there was, anything that tries to develop this time of year. And that's one of the key reasons why the Atlantic hurricane season randomly shut down in October and November, because the Etsy was just way too far south, and every wave that you saw coming off, went right into South America here and didn't even have a chance to even do anything. That, and there was some other key factors that shut down the Atlantic hurricane season last year. But as you can see here, some of these sea surface temperatures are starting to warm up a little bit here to the north, but we're going to have to see what it does, going forward through the next like 2 or 3 months. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the 15-day SST change. Obviously, I think, Alex should change this to a 7-day time frame, because I feel like 15 days is just too wide of a margin for the temperature change. And as you can see, this there's a lot of cold anomalies here, so the sea surface temperatures have definitely been cooling off as of late, but we do have some warm anomalies here that are creeping back into the Gulf of Mexico. You can definitely see where the loop current is by these warmer than normal sea surface temperatures. You can see like most of the Gulf of Mexico is pretty cool, but the shelf waters are definitely warming up in the last 15 days. Caribbean is cooling down a little bit in the last 15 days. We got some mixed bags here in the subtropics. It's just. I think that Alex should tune this down to at least 7 days, or NOAA in this case should turn it down to 7 days. I feel like 7 days is a perfect spot for sea surface temperature change anomalies, but I'm not NOAA. I can't do that. Here we go with the entire look of the Atlantic here. And you can see that the MDR is trying to warm up here. We got some excessive warmth here in the regions around 10, 12, areas like that. But we got a mixed bag here. We got some cooling, we got some warming, and we got some neutral conditions, in some of these spots. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if these warmer anomalies, take over from some of these cooler anomalies. And it looks like we definitely have a lot more warming than we've had over the last couple of weeks. And this is, like I said, this is important because it's indicative of whether you're going to get names, mini named storms, or a hyperactive season and mini ACE. Now, what typically happens here is, when you get a cool MDR in a warm subtropics, you usually get a hyperactive name count instead of a hyperactive ACE count. But if you change that around and you have cooler subtropics and warmer than normal, MDR, you might get hyperactive and ACE, because then you got those long trackers that can take advantage of these warmer than normal sea surface temperatures in the MDR. But as I said, it looks like some of these warmer anomalies are starting to take over a little bit. We're just gonna have to see how it all pans out over the coming weeks and months ahead. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the CFS V2 total accumulated precipitation anomalies for May and June. And these models, the CFS and CANSIPs, should be updating on April 1st, if I remember correctly. So I might have another update video on April 1st for you guys to check over those updated models as we head out through time. But as you can see here for March, I think we've definitely had a major uptrend in precipitation anomalies since my last video. So now we got most of the Caribbean, covered in the green stuff, and some blues popping up here. So we could be indicative of a Central American gyre that may pop up here in the month of May. We're, like I said, me and Weather Hub TV, we've been kind of forecasting around May 15th. Maybe May 20th time frame, where something may try to pop up here in the northwestern Caribbean. But we can't rule out something forming in the subtropics too, because there's plenty of moisture here in this region of the subtropics. All right, so now we're going to take a look at June, and this is where things get a little more interesting for the Gulf. As you can see, we got some, precipitation anomalies here on the eastern side of the Gulf, and some precipitation anomalies here on the western Atlantic here. But you can see that the Caribbean has dried off a little bit. I mean, we do got some precipitation anomalies here in, around the Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic area, and we got some precipitation anomalies here in the Bay of Campeche. But what I'm probably looking at here is more of this area right here where you see the shades of green in the eastern Gulf, Florida, you know, subtropics of the east western Atlantic. That could pop something off with those kind of anomalies here. I mean, then again, it could be your typical frontal showers and thunderstorms too. So we just we don't know. When we get out to farther in June, that's when we start to have lower than normal expectations. And unless we're looking at this, which we're getting into the April month, so this is becoming more and more of a likely scenario that we got a very wet Caribbean here. That could possibly sprout out something of tropical nature in a CAG. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the precipitation, or not precipitation anomalies, but the bulk shear here. And as you can see, this is still painting the same picture as favorable conditions and mostly everywhere. I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but you can see where we have the precipitation anomalies, right? Here in most of the Caribbean. Look at that. Most of the Caribbean under favorable shear here. So that gives me a little bit of a hint that something could try to form in the month of May due to those precipitation anomalies in the favorable wind shear here. So let's take a look here at the subtropics. And as you can see, once again, favorable for anything that tries to develop wind shear wise. So that's why I'm forecasting 1 to 2 systems in May, possibly, kind of like a 2020 repeat of that month. Because as you guys know, from some people, 2020 is a analog for some of the stuff coming up for the hurricane season. So that's pretty interesting to know. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the June anomalies here, and as you can see, it's still a pretty favorable setup here. Looking at the spot from the Gulf of Mexico, Florida, in the Western Atlantic. Well, there you go. Most of your favorable wind shear is right into those solid precipitation anomalies here in the Eastern Gulf of Mexico. So that's going to be interesting to see if this verifies going into the month of June, because you got the precipitation, you got the favorable wind shear in that environment. So anything can happen according to the CFS here. Like I said, many times before in the past, it can either be your typical pop-up shower and thunderstorm, or it can be something tropical. We're just gonna have to wait and find out as we head out through the next couple months. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I'll probably most likely be back on April 1st or 2nd, depending on how things go, to go over the updated CFS and the updated CANSIPS models, plus sea surface temperatures and what have you. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a nice day.